Did you know that the English word gender is related to the concept and etymology of the word genre? In this seminar, Transgender Literature, we're going to examine the various ways that literature, the symbolic world, narrative fuels, constructs, and in places challenges and deconstructs what we think of as sex, sexuality, gender, identity, expression, and orientation. I'm Dr. Bykowski. I'm the Anisfield Wolf Fellow here at Case Western in the English department. The Anisfield Wolf Book Awards has a long history of promoting and uplifting racial justice. They've put a lot of energy and investment into looking at issues that affect women and people who are marginalized for their gender and sexuality. And this class is a part of that mission to promote issues that speak to a wider diversity of persons and communities and histories, that promote ethical interrogations that can bring us closer towards a world of social justice. In our first section, we will address what are the stereotypes, what are those concepts and categories that seem fixed, that hold in and define gender in particular ways, especially ways that reinforce sexism, the patriarchy, racism, white supremacy, ableism, as well as homophobia, and of course, transphobia. Through the visual narrative, we're going to come to start to challenge and think of new ways that move beyond the stereotype into other types, other ways of expressing and signifying gender that don't fit into those boxes that society has handed us and replicated for so long. In our second section, we're going to look at the typology, the signifiers that embodies the transgender lover. What does it mean to be a trans person who loves in all the various ways that a person can love in this world, such as marriage? We're going to look at what does it mean to be a loving parent or a loving child and how those relationships are complicated. Our next section explores the type, the typology, and the signifiers of the trans performer. We're going to look at entertainment, but also the ways in which trans people have been coerced into performing certain types of labors, certain types of emotional labor, physical labor, even sexual labor. We will look at transgender sex workers within this and the type of performances they have to engage in and the system that perpetuates that form of exploitation. We're going to look at the history of the drag show and that sort of performance, in particular uplifting the landmark documentary, Paris is Burning. We're going to look at how these performances challenged and rethought class and class oppression and class exploitation and created a new economy that's not only a symbolic economy, but also one that encouraged a different way of thinking about relationships and different systems of financial support. In our next section, we look at the typology, the signs, the mythologies that have cast trans people as monsters. And we'll ask not only the question, in what ways have transgender people been dehumanized and treated as monsters, as inhuman? But we'll also look at the ways in which trans people have embraced the concept of monstrosity, to mix categories, to embody metaphors, to take control and to implement the power of metaphors, to turn monstrosity into a sign of pride and a sign of power. Our final section looks at the transgender warrior. We'll examine the military-industrial complex, the dynamics, the economics, the social positions of those transgender persons who elect to serve in the military, the various military and political responses that have tried to exclude trans people from service. And we'll also look at different ways that a trans people have embodied what it means to be a warrior, have fought in the streets, and have fought in courtrooms and other arenas for social justice. Together, we're going to try and fulfill that mission of uplifting diversity and pushing us closer towards a world that embraces social justice through the power of literature, narrative, and ethical discussion that each of us will get the honor of participating in over this next semester.